Boys, I like anime skills, and I've always found it pretty funny whenever someone starts to complain saying, you know, Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links is too dominated by the anime skills. Anime skills, you click one button, you win the game, blah, blah, blah. You guys have all heard it before. When in my opinion, I think the anime skills are what make Duel Links truly unique, especially modern Duel Links. We're not talking about Duel Links from several years ago that didn't even look anything like Master Duel or TCG. Duel Links in its current state might as well be miniature Master Duel, and I want to talk a little bit about that today. But first, just like in my previous video, this video is sponsored by me. I'm sponsoring myself. Good job, Rye. You did it. Boys, it's no secret that the YouTube channel hasn't had a whole lot of videos on it lately, in the past 4 months or so. And that's due to our new Paydia sponsorship that we had and the tournament scene. The tournament scene for DLE has been absolutely bonkers. We have just been doing amazing when it comes to the tournament scene in terms of player signups, in terms of financial stability for DLE as an organization, etc., etc., etc. So a lot of our efforts have been focused towards that. Now that it's kind of set in stone and it doesn't really need my immediate attention as much, I'm starting to reinvest some of that profit back into the channel, and I wanted to start off with the YouTube channel, specifically getting a YouTube editor. So in the coming weeks slash months, probably closer to May, as I'm in the middle of moving right now, so you're not going to see a lot of huge changes right away. We're going to start having more edited content, more gameplay content, stuff like that back on the channel, kind of like how we used to have back when Circus was doing everything, but, professionally YouTube edited versus, amateur YouTube editors like ourselves. And we'll just be the face of the content with someone actually putting all of the content together. That's not happening now, but will be happening soon. And in the meantime, I'm just going to do a bunch of these random videos where I talk at the screen and give my opinion on shit because people like that. So why not? I'll keep doing it. Anime skills, back to the actual video. Anime skills, I think, are super cool. Now, that does not mean that I don't like generic skills, because there are generic skills that I also enjoy. However, a lot of those generic skills tend to get nerfed very quickly for whatever reason in Konami's mind, right? I've said this before on stream. In a perfect universe, every single archetype that comes to Duel Links gets an anime level skill that can help it be good, outside of decks that are already good and that don't need an anime skill. In that situation, you might want anime skill that balances the deck. For example, a lot of the modern anime skills that are coming out are actually really fucking cool when you think about them. For example, the Dark Magician skill. The people who hate on the modern Dark Magician skill, I swear they must have PTSD from older Dark Magician or something. I don't know, man, because modern Dark Magician skill is actually very well made, in my opinion. Yes, it does a whole lot of stuff during the game and the format and everything, and it has basically 2 effects attached to it. But the downside is you cannot use 2 of the best Dark Magician cards that are printed currently in Duel Links, the Eternal Soul and Magician's Navigation, which is a massive drawback for the deck. If Dark Magician could use those cards, then yeah, there would be a place to sit down and talk about how that's not really good for the game. But in my opinion, the anime skill has made Dark Magician's playstyle way more interesting than original Dark Magician release, way more interesting than Dark Magician ever was in like the TCG or anything like that. And actually lets you play Dark Magician without having that feeling of being overpowered or too linear, or flip up navigation and win, or you didn't open circles so you lose, or whatever the case may be. And of course, there are other anime skills that are good examples as well. The new Red Dragon Resonator skill, locking you in the ways you can special summon. Even things as something as minor as Territory of the Sharks that originally launched that you could only play water monsters. Those are all good anime skills, in my opinion. Now, that does not mean Every single anime skill is perfect. For example, the new synchro Stardust skill that we got was very clearly not the way to go. And you never want to be in a position where kind of core non-problematic cards are getting limited in the archetype, are being limited just to accommodate the skill. I think that's one of the key differences between something like Dark Magician skill rather, versus something like the Stardust Synchro skill. They ended up nerfing a whole mess of cards to avoid the skill being broken, when in reality, they could have just probably adjusted the part of the skill where it lets you have free signer dragons for absolutely no reason. And it for the most part, would have been fine. You'd still have to compete with the draw multiple cards and the pops and everything, but the deck would still be relevant and viable, where right now you can't really play the Stardust deck anymore. It's just dead in the water. And you don't have silly things like mind control and crackdown into the banish your field and summon two signer dragons for lethal. That's where the skill got super super silly. Now, of course, I mentioned generic skills, and that not all generic skills are bad. What I consider a bad generic skill is when you're, the meta that we just left, where everyone's running around with tie that bind or life point boost alpha. No one enjoys generic skills like that. The type of generic skills that I enjoy are the ones that Konami don't really seem to want in the game. For example, level augmentation or sealed tombs. I think these are fine to have skills. I think if those skills were nerfed in a proper way, they would have been okay. For example, Sealed Tombs. Sealed Tombs' biggest problem is it didn't ever affect both players. If you went first, right, you would do your whole turn one board, activate Sealed Tombs, where it's irrelevant now to you for the most part, unless you're activating something from the grave on your opponent's turn. You're just fine from its effects, and then you don't have any of the downsides. I think it's okay for Konami to bring something back like Seal Tomb and force you to activate it as the first thing you do in the main phase, for example. Otherwise, you cannot activate the skill. Bring back level augmentation, but the level augmentation falls off after your main phase ends. Something like that to make those skills relevant while also keeping them healthy. And not completely killing them off, because it does suck right now where it does feel like certain decks are just straight up better because they have the anime skill, and that forces people to forget that without that anime skill, that deck would just be completely irrelevant and unplayable. The best thing to happen right now for a deck like Salomon Great is for them to get an anime skill. As backwards as that might seem at first, you have to think about it like Dark Magician. If Salomon Great gets a whole mess of nerfs to their cards, which is basically what they did. They did get a little bit of an unnerf in the previous ban list, and they have been performing better. But realistically, to get that deck into a place where it's super healthy because the cards are so powerful, they're going to have to limit a whole bunch of their cards or release an anime skill that kind of forces it into a different play style that's so good that it's worth not having those overpowered cards to play. Does that make sense? Kind of the same way Dark Magician lost Navigation, lost Eternal Soul, but then still ended up being playable thanks to the anime skill. So to me, I enjoy anime skills. I think they make the game interesting. They make the game different from its TCG and OCG counterparts, and it really helps Duel Links kind of break away. I don't like overpowered anime skills like the synchro bullshit that happened, or the consistency anime skills like auto play or flight control or anything like that. I'm not a fan of those. I'm honestly not a fan of any consistency skills. I think skills should not have consistency in them. They should only have power in them. That's my personal opinion. But that's just my opinion. You guys leave a comment down below. Do you like anime skills? Do you dislike anime skills? I don't know. You don't have to agree with me. I might be wrong. I think I'm correct. Let me know down in the comments. Like, comment, subscribe. Peace out, boys.